What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Thee CrazyFaceUno Podcast. I'm your host, Shane McNeely. Just a reminder, CrazyFaceUno is inspiring others to do good and make a difference in our local and global community. And it's my honor today to introduce you to the Miss Lakeville International 2019, Monica Joubert. Welcome,
Hello.
Monica.
Thank you.
I am very happy to have you on the podcast. And like we were just talking about, this is your first podcast.
This is my very first podcast.
Awesome.
So now I'll actually have to probably, check them out. I know people sing their praises, but I've always just been like,
Yeah.
So it'll be a new thing for me to add to a list.
There you go. I love it. I did say that right? You are Miss Lakeville.
Mrs. Lakeville, because I am married.
Oh, yes, Mrs.
But that's just fine. And I will only be that title for a few more weeks before I transition to my next one, which is Mrs. Dakota County.
Nice.
So
nice.
Moving up. Broader spectrum.
That is awesome. We'll get into that a little bit, but I want to sing your praises first and talk a little bit. We first met, I believe it was like either late 2013 or early 2014 in special education.
Yeah.
We worked in the same classroom together in a DASH classroom, which is...
Do you remember what that stands for?
Yes, and you put me on the spot, but I got this. It is developmental and severely handicapped.
Dakota Alternative for the Severely Handicapped.
I was so close.
Close.
Man.
I mean, it was...
Nobody ever tells you what that is, by the way. It's like...
No.
It's
the
just...
entire school district is made of acronyms that no one knows what they're...
DASH is like even...
you're in the TESA? You're in the PACES? You're in the OSH? You're like, what? What does that even mean?
Yeah, and no, I don't know if anybody really knows what they mean, but they know what the programs are.
Right.
Classic.
They are technically listed online. I've looked them up, but I can't remember them.
Yeah, of course. You are owner with your husband of Bear Den Events?
Yes. It's actually that's a name change that I need to change. He was playing with name changes and changed it to Bear Den Events and then never changed it back. It's technically Bear Den Fitness.
Bear Den Fitness. Awesome.
So we had a studio location, but we chose to drop our overhead because renting space is expensive. And so now we are essentially mobile. And so people can hire us and we come to them instead, which, cuts costs for us and then is more convenient for other people. However, it's kind of on the back burner while I am in college.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
Something I don't need to add to my many things. So but that's convenient for me too, is I can just take a break from it and it doesn't hurt anything.
Yeah, absolutely. You are also a board member on a couple different boards.
I have a cat. We just got a kitten, and it wants to be near you at every chance it can get. So if you're meowing or purring or something, I apologize.
No worries. We just go with the flow here. So my pooch, he's laying down. There was some thunderstorms. Well, there wasn't any thunderstorms, but there was some thunder that was rolling through earlier today, about an hour ago, and he's not a big fan, so he's got to be right next to me as well. So, but anyway, you're a board member on two different boards. Is that correct?
Yep, two different boards. The Panel Prague board, which is the City of Lakeville's summer celebration every year. I joined that board last year. I am the youngest on that board.
Atta girl.
At 34 years old.
Nice.
So I'm trying to breathe some new life, some fresh perspective into it. And basically, we are in charge of planning the 10-day city festival every year.
Nice.
Going through our budget and figuring out what events work, what don't, what's going to draw the most people to the city of Lakeville. And we had another successful year.
Awesome.
We just did our wrap-up meeting at the end of the week here, and we're looking forward to 2020.
Congrats. That's awesome. That's really cool.
And then my other board, why am I blanking on what other board I sit on? Oh, youth track and field.
Yeah.
Probably because we're not in the season. We don't start meeting until like November, and then after track season's over, we meet once, and then so we get a nice long break. But the youth track and field program in Lakeville,
awesome.
I sit on that board as well, and we plan all of the events for that sport.
Look at you. That's awesome. That's really cool. You are, like you had mentioned, you're married. Your husband, the beard guy.
That beard guy, yep.
Yeah, that beard guy. He's
bearded beast.
Yeah, South African, and that's really cool. I'd love to chat with you a little bit about that too, potentially, if we've got time.
Yeah.
And I saw that you are, on your website, I saw that you are the Best Buddy Champion of the Year.
So I'm a candidate.
Candidate, yes. I was going to clarify.
So the gala will be in November, where they'll announce the Champion of the Year winner. And basically how you become the Champion of the Year is you raise the most money for Best Buddies. So
Very cool.
I'm fundraising for Best Buddies, and in attempts to raise the most money for that nonprofit. And then I'm in second place currently.
Awesome.
So I've got to step up my game.
Yeah, maybe we can help you out here. So, love to do what we can to help you out. So,
yeah, that would be great.
Well, let's go back. I am very interested in Mrs. Lakeville International 2019 and kind of what that entails and what all goes into becoming Miss Lakeville, as well as what you do once you've earned that or won that.
Once I've earned the
title.
As exciting as it sounds, to be perfectly honest.
Okay.
The Mrs. Lakeville or Mrs. Dakota County title is actually a given title.
Okay.
You need to secure them through an application process and then a fee, essentially. However, those are doors to then going on and competing for the Mrs. Minnesota title.
Okay.
Which is an actual one that you compete and win for.
Gotcha. Is that a goal of yours?
So that is a goal of mine. I would love to be. Well, I competed in March of 2019, was first runner-up. And so I'm hoping 2020 is my year. But the international pageant system is not your typical, like, oh, no, she's a really pretty face.
Yeah.
And she can play the flute or the violin or the piano or dance.
Yeah.
They created a pageant with substance. So they want to know, what are you doing in your own community to make a difference?
Yeah.
Why are you a good steward in your own community? Why do you deserve a title? And so it's very community service based, and so that's why I like the pageant system. And then it gives me a chance to promote the things that I'm passionate about, on a higher level.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, people tend to listen to you when you don a sash and a crown. I don't know why. It's this magical, like, oh, she's important because she has something sparkly on her head. Yeah. But if it works, I'm going to use it.
Absolutely. If that's the platform, I mean, it's a great platform to do good and to make a difference, which is something that CrazyFaceUno cares about and is working to do as well. So that's really cool. That's awesome. What are some of the things that you were a part of this year that you're proud of or that you're?
So this year was, as you know, working in special ed, you can't just, you have to have a passion for that. Otherwise you get burnt out, you get exhausted. And I just wanted to take my passion for where I work outside of those classroom walls. And so one of our previous students is on the South Metro Miracle League. And so this year I've done some stuff with them just in terms of volunteering, did some stuff with the Special Olympics just in volunteering. I helped organize the Tim Tebow Night to Shine event, which is essentially a prom for people who live with disabilities.
Very cool.
A group of us, we all met online in a mom Facebook group, started a coalition this year that we are going to city councils, or we're meeting privately first with different city officials and discussing with them how to revamp their playgrounds to make them more inclusive.
Awesome.
Because it's a lot of those things that people just don't even think about.
Yeah.
That, you and I are able-bodied humans. We don't think about how difficult it is for someone in a wheelchair to play on a playground that has pea gravel or sand or wood chips. And that there's very limited equipment that those individuals can even use.
Right.
And so
like monkey bars aren't necessarily...
Yeah, right. Or if they do have very strong upper bodies
right.
and could actually pull themselves across monkey bars,
they're
6-7 feet off the ground. How are they supposed to get up there?
Yeah.
So just a group of like-minded moms. We started the South of the River Inclusive Playground Coalition, and we do have our first board meeting that will be presented to the Park and Rec Board in Apple Valley, and we're focusing on education. We don't expect cities to change over in a day.
Yeah.
We understand that there's obviously so much red tape and things that are involved, but what we want is the education behind it, because there's a difference between, people will say, well, I'm ADA compliant, and that's good and great, but ADA compliancy is 1% of the disabled population. So that's nice that you are ADA compliant to apply with federal laws, but you're leaving out 99% of the people. And so we just are going in with a voice of, we're educating you. We're not trying to become angry mobsters of moms. We just want you to know that this is out here, and there's a group of people that would benefit for you to take a second look at your playground planning, at your building planning, at your whatever it may be, to make it a space for everyone.
Yeah, that's really cool. Awesome. What would you say, so it sounds like you've got the, like the present goal is education and allowing people to become aware. Do you have future goals with that as well? I mean,
we have future goals of expanding our own coalition to include more resources that when we do approach cities, we can say, here's the education behind what's the difference between accessibility and inclusivity, as well as, okay, cool, you're on board with, like, the city of Apple Valley is super on board with listening to us.
Yeah.
And in those talks, they've been very frank and said, hey, money talks.
Right.
We could probably, and when you throw out numbers to the average human being, $200,000 is like, whoa, that's so much money.
Yeah.
But when it comes to actual city planning, that's a drop in the bucket.
Right.
And we'll buy you a slide.
Yeah, right.
And so our future goal is to then also have a partnership of resources that we can approach cities who are willing to change over their playgrounds. And it's not every playground. It's a couple. It's one main one, or something that will draw people to their city.
Yeah.
And we can say, hey, Target is willing to, and I'm just throwing businesses out here.
Yeah. But Target, if you're listening.
Target, if you're listening. Target's willing to sponsor, the concrete core on this playground.
Yeah.
Best Buy would like to purchase the accessible swing, or even this is a great fundraising tool that works so that cities they're more willing to listen.
Yeah.
Say, we can help you with the fundraising aspect because we know that only $200,000 or $300,000 of the city budget is going to go to this playground, and it's going to be a, slightly over $500,000 project while we have these resources available to you. So we want to be as helpful as possible with getting our project plans completed.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's great.
And pool together the most amount of resources that we can, because the only way it's going to work is if people do come together for a common cause.
Right. Absolutely. Man, that's really cool. That's cool thing to be a part of. And so you've used your platform as Mrs. Lakeville, to kind of help with that as well.
To kind of shoehorn my way in and say, hey, I am somebody. Listen to me.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And same with the city of Lakeville. So the city of Farmington this year for their city festival, added a sensory zone to their parade, where all very loud noises and the sirens and the flashing lights and stuff have been toned down for kids who were easily overstimulated, or not even kids, just people who would otherwise maybe not be able to enjoy a parade because of the sight, sounds, smells that are associated with a parade. So Farmington created a sensory friendly area blockade of the parade so that people of all abilities had the chance to view it. And so that's on our docket next year for Panel Fog, is figuring out where we want to incorporate that. So it's helped to have me being on these boards and joining these boards and having the education. Most people, like I said, if they're able-bodied, they don't even think about it.
Right.
If it doesn't affect your life, you don't realize it's a problem.
Yeah, I love that. I love that it's, I think here's the part that I love about what you just said with the parades. It's that having that specific block or that specific area, and knowing that, like, if you have an individual person that needs that, this is where they can go, but still allowing for the parade to operate in its traditional fashion, I guess, if you will,
right.
Outside of that. And I think that's really cool of it's not pushing an agenda to change it for everyone, but it's meeting in the middle in a way. I really like that. I think that's really cool.
And I actually was very surprised. I was a participant in the Farmington parade. When we got to the sensory zone, it was well signed, like, trucks, turn off your sirens, whatever needed to be. And everyone in the parade route, who was units in the parade, were aware. This zone is coming up. You need to do what you need to do. The amount of veterans who we don't necessarily even think of.
Oh, yeah.
That parades.
Those noises and sounds and lights. And
things. Yeah.
Absolutely.
There was quite a few veterans sitting in that area. And so it was even for me a light bulb moment of, here I was thinking traditional sensory overload.
Yeah.
Children who have autism or other things that affect those patterns, and then didn't even think about this other group of people. So it was even like, well, there you go.
That gave me the chills. That's really cool. I really like that. I didn't even think of that either. Not for a second.
No,
I mean, maybe that's our special education kind of experience and background, but I didn't even.
And I think that's what you and we first turn to when you hear about sensory friendly, is that special education, because we ourselves have that education, but we don't think of the broader spectrum. And that's where I really appreciate that I have this group of other, it's not just me alone that are trying to accomplish all of this.
Yeah,
I have like-minded individuals who are also educating me along the way, because there's always something to learn.
Yeah. I should also say, for the listeners out there, Monica, we mentioned your goal of becoming Mrs. Minnesota, I guess. But
Mrs. Minnesota,
that you are from Minnesota, Twin Cities, Lakeville, Farmington. This area that you've been mentioning or talking about is the South Metro, like the south suburbs of the Twin Cities. So
south of Minneapolis.
Yeah, and so just for you listening, if you want some context as to where that's at, that's what we're talking about. Minnesota, St. Paul, Minneapolis, that area, and about 30 minutes south. So, very cool. Although
I refuse to go anywhere towards Minneapolis or St. Paul right now because of roads.
It's that season. It's that season.
And it's even worse. 494 and 35W, Cedar and 169 are the only two options.
Yeah, that's the beauty of living in Florida. We don't have too much of that right now. So.
No, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, I win on winter and I win on road construction. So enjoy both of those things.
I have the Minnesota State Fair, which started today, though.
Ooh, nice. That's fun.
Just wall-to-wall people as well, so I guess it's actually not much different than road construction.
It's true. And if you are listening and you've never heard of or been to the Minnesota State Fair, you should probably check that out. It is massive. It
is one of the largest state fairs in the country.
Yeah.
And it's 12 days long, and it is insanity. And some people go all 12 days. People were lining up at 11:15 p.m. last night for gate open at 6 a.m. this morning.
I just don't understand that, but
right? No, I don't
to each
either.
their own. To each their own. Yeah, I mean, it's huge. The food scene is amazing. There's so much entertainment, big bands, big name, artists, athletes. It's incredible. It's really a fun spectacle.
And really if you will. Good, right, and really good people watching.
Oh, the best.
All walks of life that come together for food and entertainment.
Yeah. The creativity with the food. They always have the new, like the food highlights, or what's it called? The food, like the different ones each year where they kind of highlight those special foods.
Basically what's new. They do craft beers, and they do all sorts of... Like
mini donut beer?
I'm not super adventurous when it comes to the state fair food, partially because I'm afraid to spend $12 on some sort of weird concoction and not like it.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then there's things that freak me out. Like there was some sort of shrimp something or other that a few years back that was highly sought after, and everyone was like, you need to try this. And I'm thinking... shrimp from a food truck and we're shipping that in from the coast into Midwest Minnesota.
Come on, Monica, you gotta live a little bit here. You gotta live a little bit.
Taking my guts out on Dan Patrick Street.
Oh, that's funny. Speaking of the Minnesota State Fair, you said you kind of keep it tame, but what are three things that you always make sure you do?
The pork chop on a stick, if I can find it.
Okay.
So I guess it's 4. A corn dog.
Yeah.
I honestly see no difference between a corn dog and a pronto pup. So anyone from Minnesota listening right there, don't even come at me.
Oh, I'm coming at you already. Corn dogs are clearly better.
I don't taste the difference.
Well,
maybe I've never truly had one or the other.
Maybe if you had the fish or the shrimp deal, you'd understand the difference. Yeah.
Right. The Sweet Martha's cookies.
Oh, of course.
You have to somehow balance and walk to the all-you-can-drink milk stands, but you can eat your cookies with milk.
Duh.
And then, what am I? Okay, so corn dog / pronto puff, pork chop on. Oh, and the fries.
Fries. Yep.
Which, is more food than anyone needs to consume ever in a week.
Yeah.
And we do it in a 6-hour period.
Yeah, but there's lots of walking, so there's that. And you can rationalize it in that way, I guess.
Right. Yep. I'm walking my corn dog off to the cookies. That's perfect.
Nice. Does Mrs. Lakeville have any things to do at the State Fair?
So I can ride in the State Fair parade as a visiting royalty if I would like to.
Cool.
Because there's a parade that goes through a section of the State Fair every day at 2 p.m. And so if you do have visiting royalty or the different bands and stuff will come from the state and play for the parade. And we haven't decided. We're going on Tuesday, and I'm going to bring it with. And so if we're anywhere near where the parade starts, because you literally hop on the visiting royalty float is all it is. I didn't make much of an effort to get a hold of anyone inside the State Fair to, help at a booth or anything like that, because we originally weren't even sure we were going to go. And then my husband decided, since my mother-in-law is visiting from South Africa, that she needs to see this spectacle for herself.
Absolutely.
And I was like, ooh, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. Is she here right now then?
So she is. She's been here since June 25th is I think when she flew in.
That's awesome.
And then she leaves on Wednesday of next week.
Awesome. So she gets to sneak in the State Fair.
Minnesota summer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We were out to the Grand Canyon and stuff and showed her some of the United States a little bit. She's actually more traveled in the United States than I ever have been. I'm hoping to catch up to her at some point.
Yeah.
Because she worked cruise ships, so she's been in and out of a lot of harbors.
Yeah.
So
that's really cool.
She's seen more of the U.S. than I have, which is really sad.
Oh, man. So let's go there, that direction. You took a trip recently to South Africa with your husband and your daughter, correct?
Yes.
How was that?
Yep, we went last year. We went in July of last year, which is, for them, it's winter.
Mm-hmm.
And it was incredible. It was amazing. It's a country in turmoil, unfortunately, that doesn't get a lot of airtime in any of our press. There's a lot, and it has stemmed from their rough history.
Yeah.
You know, there's apartheid up until 1994, and some of the old culture still exists there, and you know, it's really hard for a certain group of people to, when 9% of the population controls all the power.
Sounds familiar.
Really hard. Yeah, right. Very similar. And so they have a lot more violence than we do in terms of protesting and things like that.
Right.
And their political climate is changing as well. Where we went, we were very safe. You know, we were with family. But even that's slowly changing over. The protests and stuff that's happening is slowly creeping into where, like, my mother-in-law lives out there. So it is a little scary. You know, they have a very broken infrastructure, so it was interesting to learn and see it firsthand. But we did spend some time, like, in the touristy areas, which, when you go there, you would never know that the country is such upheaval either.
Sure.
You know, so we did the traditional touristy things. We went on safari, and we went to the ocean, and we did some of those big ticket things and saw, you know, animals that I never expected to see outside the zoo. And had an encounter with a lion cub.
Ooh.
Which, you know, that's the other thing, like, we as Americans love to bash trophy hunting, but it is a way of life out there. The amount of money that, like, it hurts my heart, and I don't condone it. But it's a way of life. You know, they raise groups of lions strictly for this, almost like pheasant hunting here, only different. Like I said, it's an icky no-win situation, really.
Yeah.
But it is a moneymaker for whole communities.
Right. It's an industry.
So it was really interesting to learn it and see it firsthand. My mother-in-law lives in the city where Nelson Mandela was captured. And so that was really neat to go to the Nelson Mandela Museum and kind of learn that history firsthand. What was really great was my daughter's exposure to all of
I was going to ask you about that.
And just in general, her exposure to realize that it's not all sunshine. You know, she is aware of how much privilege she has here.
Yeah.
And it's actually made her a better little human being for it, because she knows that her life could be something completely different if she wasn't born and raised here.
Right.
And so I think that's been the biggest thing for me, is she appreciates everything she got to do, seeing elephants, seeing lions, seeing giraffe and all of that, but then she also appreciates that she comes home to this very comfortable life.
Yeah. How old is your daughter again?
She'll be 11 next month.
11. Young lady.
She is. We're hitting preteen, and as much as she appreciates life, she's gonna give me a run for my money. So we've seen bits and pieces of preteen, teen attitudes. I'm like, oh God, I'm not ready.
Yeah.
And
Well,
we did our 5th grade orientation today, which is for last year of middle school, and Mom was a little like, okay, my baby's growing up, and she's super excited to get 5th grade over with and go to middle school. And I'm like, no,
take your time, honey.
Take your time.
Yeah.
If you like to repeat the 5th grade, I'm fine.
Monica, you and your daughter, you raised your daughter by yourself for a little while before you met your husband, and I know that, you know, there are a lot of single mothers out there. What was that experience like for you?
You know, it actually was very isolating. I mean, my situation, I did have a lot of support and help. I shouldn't say it was very isolating because I had my parents' support and help and stuff. But in terms of connecting as adults, I didn't realize when we talk about the divorce rate being 50%, I don't know where they get that statistic, because when my daughter entered kindergarten, I was like one of 2 single mothers in the entire class.
Yeah.
And so it was like, so Christmas party, fall festival, all of that was these couples and these things, and it was like, oh yeah, well, where's your husband? And it's like, oh, I don't have one.
Right. Yeah.
And Danny struggled a little bit with, we tried very hard to instill in her, like, hey, not all families look the same.
Yeah.
Case in point, you're an only child, and her little core group of friends she met in kindergarten all had younger siblings. Like, they were the oldest, and they all had younger siblings. And so we tried to use that, like, hey, see, other people have siblings, and, some people live with mom and dad, some people live with mom, dad, and potentially grandma, or any variation of this and that and the other thing. But I found, the way I had to live life at that time, with working 3 jobs and having her in before and after school care, was very lonely. Because when I did get invited, I maybe went to one holiday party a year if I could make it. I'd constantly get emails on the school about, we need parent volunteers, and it was like, well, that's nice.
But I have my daughter. Yeah.
I have a before school job. I have an after school job. I always felt like I was torn between, do I make money to better our situation, or do I sacrifice more and potentially go without something to be there? And so I never really got that balance. I don't think she ever realized that she didn't get as much mom time as other kids.
Yeah.
Because she did have a good, because grandma would step in for me. And
right.
She would have someone there.
Yeah.
And it's a struggle. I mean, and then because I chose to work 3 jobs and I didn't qualify for, the aid that's supposed to be for people like me.
Mm-hmm.
I even had a caseworker tell me, well, if you'd quit one of your jobs, you would qualify for, I think it was SNAP, which is the food assistant.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, well, that doesn't help me then.
Yeah. It's not really the most financial viable option. Yeah.
For me to get child care assistance, with the 3 jobs that I was working at that time, I made 30 cents too much to receive child care assistance. And so it was like, cool, because this 30 cents will pay my daycare bill.
Yeah.
No, it won't. It's really weird. You learn a lot about the system that people love to complain about.
Yeah.
And you realize how if I would have quit my job, I would have been dependent on that food assistance.
Right.
And if I would have then tried to better my situation, or if I would have gotten a job that did pay more money where I could reduce the number of jobs, that food assistant goes away.
Yeah.
So it's this weird conundrum of our system is broken, and we create people who have habits that need to stay on it. Otherwise, they don't make enough money then to get off of it. So
right.
I learned a lot.
It's such a complex. It's such a complex issue.
And then when we moved into low income housing, when I finally was able to be in a place where I could move out of my parents and move into low income housing, it was the same kind of story. These women that also lived in this housing, or even families, it wasn't just single women. It was quite a few single women, but they were doing the same thing. And there was times where, and it's really humbling. Because I did live a different life prior to getting divorced and finding myself as a single mom with full custody of a child. And so people would look at you weird, too, because I have Lululemon, but I live in low-income housing, and it's like, well, that's something it was from a prior life.
Yeah.
And trust me, I thought about selling it. So it's this weird thing of people look down on you, too.
Yeah.
They're like, well, you have a decent car, and it's like, yeah, because it was pre-divorce or pre-situation.
Yeah, yeah.
And so thank goodness I have this car to get me, because if I had to buy something, well, I don't know. I did go through a period of, only being able to afford really crappy cars, and I was changing cars every other year because they dump out on you. So,
yep.
It's an experience that, as much as it was difficult, I'm glad that I experienced it, because I do think it also made me a more empathetic person in general. I think it made me a stronger person.
Yeah.
And so, to any single mom currently going through it, it may feel fruitless. It may feel exhausting. It is exhausting, but the fight is worth it.
Yeah.
Because you're showing your children that you can do anything, and that way they can do anything. And I think that's part of the reason my kid, knock on wood, seems to be going in the right direction, but we've
yeah.
we're hitting teenage years, so anything can happen.
Well, Monica, what are some suggestions, or what are some what's some encouragement you would give single moms that maybe are in a similar situation or have been in a situation that you've gone through, and what's some advice or some inspiration you would give them?
My biggest is, don't be afraid to ask for help. I know that's probably really cliche, but my help that I received when I was down and desperate came from the most unexpected places.
Sure.
Those friends that I really hadn't talked to in a few years actually came out of the woodwork and supported me in ways that, offering to watch Danny or pick her up or whatever. And it's like, wow, I haven't fostered the friendship with that person clearly I should have, because they genuinely care.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we feel like we're a burden instead of, and so it's hard to ask for help because you're like, oh, I don't want to bother them.
Yeah.
And so, the worst they can tell you is no.
Right.
And I'm learning through fundraising efforts, no isn't a big deal.
Yeah. It's actually maybe sometimes it's best.
Right. If someone tells you no, there's someone else who's going to tell you yes somewhere. You just have to keep asking.
Yeah.
And, that family, and I've learned through everything that I've gone through, family isn't always blood. I do have a great family unit, but not everyone has that.
Yeah.
But some people that are in my life now, I'm not related to, but those are my family.
Right.
My best friend actually just moved into the housing we moved out of after she unfortunately found herself in a similar situation.
Sure.
And now divorced. And that girl's my family. And
Yeah.
I'm trying my best to support her, because I've told her many times, been there, done it.
Right.
Let's get you through this. It's just a phase. It's just a moment. It's a chunk of time in your life. It's a dash in your timeline.
Yeah.
So we can get you past this.
Yeah, that was something, I know it's very different, but just staying present, I think, sometimes, and being like, this is where we're at. When I was going through this move and, moving our small family, but Dana and I and our pooch, it's stressful. And the thing I had to just keep telling myself was, this is where we're at. This is just it. There's no getting around it. I can woe is me all I want about the struggles or the difficulties within this, but at the end of the day, this is it. This is where we're at. And so be present, trust the process, and you got to do what you got to do and make it happen. So
and find those silver linings. There's always a silver lining
perspective
to your situation. My daughter was actually just expressing that she claims she knows nobody in her 5th grade class. And I'm like, really? Nobody? You've been in the same school for 6 years.
Right.
Your entire class changed over?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, that's not what I meant, Mom. And I said, okay, so you could complain about, or you can make new friends.
Right. Yeah.
You can complain about this isn't your core group of friends that you've made, or you can be like, cool, this is a perfect opportunity for me to get to know some new people.
Right.
Which she was kind of like, nah, but we'll warm up. We'll go work on it.
Right. Well, and it's the looking.
What I try and tell other people that do come to me for advice is, let's find your silver lining.
Yeah, and I like that message that you're teaching your daughter. And when there's an issue, it's like, what part am I playing, or what part can I play to change my narrative? You know, that's a lesson.
I have been told. One of my good friends, she told me that my biggest fault is when I'm too happy.
I know. I get frustrated.
What? That's the problem.
I get frustrated with Dana sometimes, my wife, because she's always got the positive side of an issue, and I'm like, come on, just
let me be angry.
Yeah, just wallow in this frustration with me. And she's like, nah.
We have that same, Peter and I ebb and flow on that too.
Yeah.
I'll be in the upswing and he'll get down on something, and I'm like, fine, and then vice versa.
Yeah,
we get in that little spat of, can I just be angry right now?
Right. It's so good, though.
Be angry with me for a moment.
It's so good to be challenged on those things. Both directions, I think. I think it's healthy. I think it's important to know where your mind's at, but also to change your own narrative and to work on those things and to actually practice as an adult just as much as a child can practice those things too, of looking at what's the perspective, what's the lens that I want to look through. It's okay to be realistic and understand, but then to change that view and be like, okay, yeah. I'm gonna take it from this spin, or I'm gonna take it from this angle. Or
that was this March. When did you guys leave?
I left 3 weeks ago, I guess.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, you guys were here in March when it snowed and then rained.
Yes.
And everyone on the planet who owned any housing had flooding in their basement.
I didn't have any flooding, thank goodness, but yes, I'm with you.
We pumped out 900 gallons out of our basement.
Ooh, boy.
I mean, to the point where I sent a video to our supervisor and was like, so I can't come into work and this is why. I'm taking a sick day, and you need to see the reasoning behind it. We had our one basement window. It was literally a waterfall into our bathroom.
Oh, no.
Through the landscaping and stuff. But we, and I did get frustrated throughout the process, because at one point I was like, the water is never stopping.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter put her swimsuit on and made the entire basement into a splash park.
That's awesome.
Right, which is totally hilarious. And then she was surprised that the water was cold, but I was like, it's not. Would you like me to boil some water and throw it down here too and warm it up for you? I'm not really sure what you're expecting when you shift into the lake. But it was funny. It was, I essentially for 48 hours donned on a pair of rubber boots in my house, and literally was and it came at the worst time too. We had just gotten our bedroom set delivered, and our bedroom is in the basement, so a brand new bedroom set, which I've never owned in my entire life, has been parked in my upstairs living room, along with the downstairs living room furniture, a TV, a bookshelf, everything we owned that was downstairs was moved upstairs into a living room. And thank goodness we had the space to do so, so that we could get the basement cleaned up. But it was like, I can't live like this. Oh my gosh, there's just stuff everywhere and I can't do it, and there's water coming in, but it was a great break from that stress to have my daughter be like, swimsuit time, and just go dive into our basement.
Yeah, it's like turning something that's stressful and miserable, but also all right, let's make the most of it.
and it went, so then replacement wasn't on my shoulders either in terms of carrying out things downstairs. So that was also a blessing in disguise. I was like, oh, I don't have to repair any of this? Perfect.
Yeah. How does your positive spin on things, how does that influence, or how has that impacted your life throughout the years? Obviously you've got a lot of you've got a lot of things on your plate. Like you're involved in a lot of different things. And do you think that plays into the fact of, people wanting you on their board or these different just these different things that you're involved in? How does that affect those?
I think so. I mean, with obviously the exception of a few friends who see my positiveness as too much on occasion. Which I'm like, that's fine, whatever. Just don't text me back. That's cool. You can take a break from me. I'll understand.
Right.
I think it does. I think me attempting to remain positive in life does naturally draw people to me, and naturally then, they perceive me a certain way, as helpful, as outgoing, as someone who is determined to get stuff done.
Right.
My mom was at an event not too long ago that quite a few Lakeville, I'm going to call them dignitaries, people who sit in city council or school board or stuff, were also in attendance. And when they came home, they walked down. My parents only lived 7 houses from us. My parents walked down and knocked on our door, and my dad jokingly said, "So are you just going to run for mayor next?" And I was like,
maybe.
No. I want none of that in my life. And B, well, why would you even ask me that? And my mom said, well, we just came from whatever it was, and all of these Lakeville dignitaries are just singing your praises. It just seems like maybe a natural fit for you to run for some sort of office.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool.
And and I think part of that is my attitude of, hey, we can get this done if we work together, or let's look at it as different light.
Yeah.
Just in general, having a positive attitude, I think, helps create better connections, but people tend to enjoy your company more when you do.
Yeah.
But I think it's also put, this year at work I did receive the Outstanding Leadership Award, and things that were never even on my radar.
Sure.
It's something that my positive attitude is coming back to me.
Yeah.
I went to our employee appreciation, and when my name was called, I was genuinely shocked.
Yeah.
And the teacher that we had last year was not, and I was like, huh.
Yeah.
And so I think you don't realize what an impact your attitude has until you get those surprises.
Right.
Wow, I honestly didn't think anyone was really truly noticing, sort of thing. And I wasn't doing it for them, or I wasn't doing it doing it for me. I was doing it because I love my job, I love my kids.
Yeah.
And so it was really nice to receive some recognition, but in the same sense, I didn't expect it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
My daughter and my mother-in-law are playing hide and seek, so I'm sorry if there's laughing in the background. They just went shrieking through the living room. So.
No, it's totally fine. Totally fine. Monica, I mean, I've kind of highlighted, we've talked about several different things you're involved in. All of them are, everything that you're involved in is kind of, it's around the same concept of kind of CrazyFaceUno, of like giving back, doing good, and making a difference. I know you, and I know you have a very empathetic heart. You care a lot about people and whatnot. Where does that come from? Do you remember a time growing up, or do you, where do you think that part of your life, a part of who you are, stems from?
I think it was becoming a mother, to be honest. I wasn't always like this.
Yeah.
I wasn't always, I grew up with a very kind family, a very empathetic family as well. However, I, at one point in time, decided that law enforcement was the route that I wanted to go in terms of my college/future career, and got into some jobs where I every day I saw the worst of people.
Yeah.
I never did become a police officer, but I did become very close in a security-related field that dealt with a lot of the same things that police officers do deal with. And in that time, that 2.5 years of my life, looking back on it now, I was a very jaded, hard-hearted person. I definitely would have agreed with certain stereotypes of different people and things like that because I lived it, I saw it, so I just assumed people were the worst, and I disliked people, and I think motherhood changed that for me because, obviously when you are handed this little bundle, your first reaction is oh no, I have to keep this alive. I don't know what I'm doing. And I think you also then want to see, you don't want your child growing up thinking the world is terrible.
Yeah.
So then I think you kind of change your own mindset with a lack of sleep and having your schedule flip-flopped several different times over. You lose yourself too. And so I think removing myself from the situation Danny and I were in when I was married previously, as well as then going through the hardships that we went through, really changed my perspective on life in general. And then what's even pushed it even further was entering my classroom for the first time. And I mean, I never had exposure to such severe disabilities previously to entering that classroom 7 years ago now. And so I think just even those kids have made me learn so much more than I could ever imagine. Their individual personalities, just things you don't even think of, the way that they learn to communicate on their own, some of their cheeky behaviors, the games that they come up with and play, just that stuff. How do you not develop a soft spot for that?
Yeah.
And so I think it's just been a developmental from becoming a mom almost 11 years ago, and then it's just increased with the work that I now do, which I would have never. Me entering that classroom 7 years ago was I applied for a job because I needed health insurance.
Right.
And you would have asked me 7 years ago, I'd have been like, well, it's just a job.
Sure.
I have health insurance now and $16 an hour. Like, I can quit one of my 3 jobs. So.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I never would have thought it developed to what it has so far.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that just, as a human being, I've learned and grown, and I want to continue that streak.
Yeah. You can tell that it's important to you, and it's something that you hold dear, and something that's just clearly become part of who you are, just through the different things that you're involved in. We haven't really talked about special education, and when we first met in the classroom that we worked in, or that you still work in, I know that you've been in a few different acronymed classrooms.
I've only been placed there because we've been short on students in our own. But no, I've been in the dash room this will be my 7th school year in the dash room. And I'm the only. Claudette is gone, Sharon is gone. They both retired.
Yeah.
And so.
You're still there, still kicking.
I'm now the original.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It'll be interesting to see what changes this year. I have.
Would you?
We have a great nurse, but I'll get new support staff, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah. Would you give our listeners just kind of a rundown of the group of students that we work with in a dash classroom, and some of the difficulties and some of the different components and pieces that go into being in that classroom?
Yeah. So DASH, which is the Dakota Alternative for Severely Handicapped, which I'm not sure is actually technically the most PC thing to say anymore. However, it was created, the teacher that Shane and I used to work under, she's the one who created the program 30-something years ago.
Yeah.
And in that time, that acronym was extremely appropriate. But she had a full hand in writing every single aspect of that program.
Yeah.
And she did a wonderful job.
Yep.
So
nice job, Claudette.
Would qualify. Good job, Claudette. students who would qualify for a DASH classroom are usually students who have severe seizure disorders, and because of that seizure disorder, their functionality in terms of mental capacity or intellectual levels are usually pretty severe and profound for their age group. So they might present themselves in a 15-year-old body, but only have the mental age of a 2 or 3-year-old. We see extreme cases of cerebral palsy or traumatic brain injuries. We've had a few, and unfortunately, like shaken baby syndrome, so they've never developed past because of that traumatic brain injury. So, we see a wide range of things that will break your heart to they were born this way. This is the only thing they've ever known. But they're always usually the extreme. And that then dictates their own functionality. We've had students in the past who, and currently you can use some simple sign language to communicate what they need. Some of them have use of arms and legs and, are somewhat mobile, and some of them don't have any use of that at all. So they require feeding tubes, different methods to go to the restroom, and require a staff person to do every single care. And so those present its own, their own challenges themselves of you now have an adult body that unfortunately wears adult diapers and you need to change them. And sometimes they outweigh you. So, it's a very physically demanding job because a lot of these students don't have control of their own bodies.
And a lot of them are also in wheelchairs.
This is the first year. Last year was the first year I had 2 students that were not wheelchair bound.
Wow, very cool.
And so that was it was a learning experience for me because it was like, thank goodness they can't push open a door.
We
had to child-proof the classroom because one of them climbed and was like, all right, I'm now going to dump everything out on myself. And you're like, wait a minute. So it was definitely a little bit hurting cats this last year. But they also, we have such a wonderful program that we find what they can do and then run with it. The brother-sister duo, obviously not saying names for privacy reasons, but the brother-sister duo, both of them had, they had the ability to use their jaw, and so I refer to it as like the Stephen Hawking way of talking.
Right.
You set up a computer system that they can operate through a hearing device and jaw movement, and so that they can communicate with us. And so we have such a great program that we find how they can be independent and then foster that independence.
Right. And one of the cool things that I really thought was awesome was the communication aspect of the classroom and the adapting to each, just like you're talking about, adapting to each individual and their needs. The creativity that came in with being able to
figuring that out.
Of communicating, whether it was a switch of just saying yes and no. Left hand is yes, or left hand is no, right hand is yes, or whichever that is. Selecting and choosing things it's simple things that we take for granted and you don't think about, to using your head to navigate a switch that alters, or hit a switch that is scrolling. And when it gets to the word that you want to say or the thing that you want, then you hit the switch to, like you're talking about with the jaw communication there's just so many different ways of giving individuals and these specific students. And this is throughout special education. It's been a focus and something that's improving, I think, but giving someone a voice and being able to communicate and talk, that looks different in so many different classrooms and so many different people's life, but it's so huge.
Or giving them modalities. We have one student who they're classified as deafblind, and so we're trialing a couple of different things of using simple sign language to having that student pick up a bell for music. If they want to go go play at the music station, or some sort of toy, or some like a fork for, hey, I'm hungry, so that they can advocate for themselves, pick up the fork, and that fork we've then, trained them in a way to this. You picking up this fork tells me that you want a snack or lunch or whatever's next on the agenda.
Yeah.
So, that we try and assist them and meet them where their level are, not expect them to conform to what we've decided as a society is functional.
Yeah.
So I love that, and I love that we have some very strong parents in my classroom, too, that really advocate for trying new things, too, that they're not like, oh, well, this is what needs to happen. Some great group of parents that are like, what else can we try?
Yeah.
We want our children to live up to their best potential. And so, I hear horror stories of IEP meetings, and I'm really happy that doesn't seem to be our parents don't show up for a fight.
Yeah.
And I really hope that when I do finish my school and I actually get to be in the teacher role, that I can continue that tradition of that we are a team that has the best interest of the child, and that the best interest of that child isn't going to look the same for every student.
Yeah.
That we're going to find those functional behaviors and roll with them so that they can live their best life possible.
Yeah. So amongst all of the things that you are involved in and doing, you are also going back to school for your education degree or education license?
Yes, for my special education license.
Nice. That's awesome.
And that sprung this year. Claudette encouraged it my entire 5-ish years that I was in her classroom. She really kind of was like, you should think about going to school. And I was like, that sounds terrible. And finally, we had a teacher this year that didn't give us their best work and effort, and it angered me.
Yeah.
And lit a fire and was like, you know what? No.
It's time.
I can do this.
Yeah.
I know I can do this. Why am I not?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I'm getting snippet reminders of why I was not. While I go to school, I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. So, but I'm, pushing through. I obviously know what the end goal is, so I'm trying to not let the frustrations of being an adult learner inhibit my ability to succeed and get this special education license that I can be the teacher.
Absolutely.
And then learn all of the awesome, agenda and political junk that goes on in
Yeah. It's there. It's prevalent. It's very.
Yeah.
There is a lot of red tape and a lot of crap that goes on, and anybody that's in the education world knows. So.
Overwhelming theme that has been even in my classes, especially for special education, is most of the teachers that I've had now for my college degree basically have said, if you don't have the passion for this, don't do it.
Yeah.
And so that's like, okay, well, I do have that.
Yeah.
I may not be the best student, but I have the passion.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Cool. So at least I got that going for me.
Yeah.
And many a late night sitting in front of a computer going, how many more words do I need to make this paper be done?
Oh, yes. The good old college days.
Yep.
I would love to kind of wrap things up with you maybe talking to us about best buddies and giving us more information about that, and then we can definitely point people in the direction of helping you with your fundraising goals.
Yes. So Best Buddies is a international nonprofit whose overall goal is inclusion. And so they have 4 main pillars that they focus on in inclusion's efforts, and that is one-to-one friendships, which start as soon as elementary school, basically, inclusive classrooms, and that you basically get paired up with a buddy that then you create a friendship for life, so that people who do live with intellectual and physical disabilities are integrated and inclusive into society, as well as felt to be made like they are included. I attribute it to, like, recall a time that you were picked last for dodgeball, or you found out you weren't invited to, you know, little Susie's birthday party or something.
Yeah.
Do you remember that sinking feeling of being left out? Now, think about if that feeling followed you through life, like, because you have someone who has some form of disabilities and you're constantly excluded because people don't understand you.
Yeah.
That's the feeling Best Buddies is trying to eliminate.
Yeah.
And so they do that through the one-to-one friendships in the schools. They do it through going into business communities and helping businesses create jobs for people with disabilities, and then they take it a step further. Like, they don't just help you to create the job and then leave you high and dry. Best Buddies will provide support to the business as well as the person working in that role for life. And so they're not like, oh, cool, you created this job that a person with disabilities can do. We'll see you later. They continually train and help support so that that person can stay on staff there. They provide leadership skills to people who live with disabilities. So they have different leadership conferences, different workshops, different things. I was a part of a speech workshop, so we helped people write their own speeches to tell about themselves. And so I was a speech coach for one of those trainings. And then the last one, and their newest pillar, is inclusive living. So whatever that means to someone. So they help people who have disabilities find places to live, integrate themselves into our general education society, and sometimes your inclusive living or your independent living is living with somebody.
Yeah.
And so they support all of that, and through obviously donations and things like that. And so there is no Minnesota chapter. Okay. We do have Best Buddy programs in a couple of schools. Like the school I work in, Lakeville North, does have a Best Buddy chapter, like as in a little school club. But there's no statewide chapter with a home office or anything. And so that's what we're really trying to accomplish, is fundraise enough money to open a state chapter so that we can provide more services to the people of Minnesota. And that's what that's where I come in as a Best Buddies Champion of the Year candidate.
Yeah.
And so I have a fundraising, website that all the funds, like I don't see the money, in terms of, like, I don't have access to it.
Yeah.
People are like, well, where's that money actually go? And so unless you hand me money myself, is the only, everything goes straight into my fundraising page, straight to Best Buddies.
Yeah.
Straight to the Minnesota chapter, because it is an international organization. So,
Great.
But it goes straight to opening the Minnesota chapter. And I'm working with a couple different things to have, like, beer bash night or whatever. You buy your $10, and that proceeds would then go to Best Buddies through that. We're going to do a couple, come as you are yoga classes where you just give me a donation and I will teach yoga.
Cool.
And all of that money is going to go straight to Best Buddies. But my biggest thing is I'm attempting to get businesses, even small local ones, all the way up to big corporations, to assist too. And that's obviously my biggest area, is to, like, approach somebody like Target and be like, hey, can I have some money for this thing?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to actually really explain it well, and I don't know if I am, but that's the only way that this movement is going to get off the ground, is through, because it is a nonprofit. And, I see the importance of it, and I try very hard to display the importance of it as well, because, the more inclusive we live as a society, we only get better.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So you have a fundraising page. I'm going to share that page.
Yep, I will get you the link to that.
Perfect.
If you go to the Best Buddies International website, you can search Best Buddies Champions of the Year, I believe. I'm looking right now. Oh, so if you go to the Best Buddies I think it's bestbuddies.org. So our website is bestbuddieschampion.org, and then you can click on Support a Champion, and you can look me up.
Okay.
Monica Joubert, Joubert, And you can find my specific fundraising page, which then there's some more info about me, what I'm doing. You can join my team, which is the Miss Lakeville Royal Squad.
Yeah. Nice.
Or you can donate right there. You know, we also, and donations don't have to just come via financial. We have a gala in November, and we need silent auction items, large ticket items.
Perfect.
You know, services, like we're currently looking for someone to MC the gala. You know, so donations aren't necessarily monetary. They come in other forms too. And so if people want to reach out to me because they have something else other than financially to donate, I would, you know, be happy to direct them or get them in place where they need to be in place. And then you also can buy tickets to the gala if that's, you know, of interest to people, and just like one big party.
That's awesome.
But it all supports the goal of Best Buddies
having a Minnesota chapter.
Coming home having Minnesota chapter so that they can offer more support with people living with physical and intellectual disabilities.
Amazing. I'm going to commit $25 from CrazyFaceUno to Best Buddies into your page. That's important, and I know it's not much, but it's a simple way for me and for us to. Yeah, so CrazyFaceUno is committing $25. I will post information about Best Buddies and Monica, her page. It'll be on our social media, and I will include a screenshot of an hour commitment here at CrazyFaceUno to that cause. So if you're listening, this is something that's important to us. It's a way for us to do good and to give back and to make a difference in the lives of individuals, and something that, you know, we stand for here at CrazyFaceUno. So if you're listening, I would love if you would also take part and give to Monica and the Best Buddies organization and helping create the Minnesota chapter of Best Buddies. So keep a lookout for
CrazyFaceUno.
Absolutely. Keep a lookout for that post and that information, and let's rally behind and help Monica be the champion and bring that to
the champion last year for a different state raised a crazy amount of money.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed, but
absolutely. Well, and if there's anything else we can help with, please don't hesitate to ask. CrazyFaceUno, I would love to participate in any way we can.
I mean, I know you're in Florida, and I'm assuming your podcast listeners are not just in Florida and Minnesota.
No.
But, you know, one way that they can look up to see even if there's chapters in their own states.
Cool.
The Best Buddies as an organization is trying to get chapters in every single state. And if, you know, you feel the call to help, and if it's not financially, you know, look into the organization yourself. And if you work in a school, see about your school starting its own chapter there.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much that can be done that won't actually cost you any money.
Yeah.
That only helps. And, you know, spreading the word is one of the biggest ways to help, because the more that people know about it, the more support that it'll get.
Awesome. Monica, you're amazing. You're doing some awesome things. And again, if there's any way that CrazyFaceUno can help in the future, please don't hesitate to reach out to us and let us know. We would love to contribute to the success that you have had in so many different arenas. And it's been an honor to have you on the podcast. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And, you know, I will say it was uttered a few times this year in my classroom to those who were aware of the "come back, Shay."
I miss you guys.
Here in Minnesota.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Just a reminder, do good, make a difference. We love you here at CrazyFaceUno. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening. Share this podcast, share the other podcasts, and share the things that you're doing in your communities, both locally and globally, to do good and make a difference. We appreciate you. We appreciate each and every one of you out there. Thanks again. Peace!